Hello, everyone. This is Fabian, the product manager for GitLab Geo. And today I'm going to walk you through the roadmap of Geo and what we're up to in the next release. Let me start with one thing that I talked about last time here, design repositories. So we had intentions to ship this in 12.5, but unfortunately, this is going to be a little bit delayed. Currently, we are working on exposing all of the design repository information in the admin area. And in order to polish that, we need a little bit more time. So this is going to slip from 12.5 to 12.6. So that's the first thing to know. So we hope to deliver this by the next release on the 22nd of December. I spoke about it in the past, so I'm not going to go too much into detail, but this is ideally going to end and come to a conclusion in 12.6. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things we are doing right now. So we closed actually out a few other epics. We focused a lot on improving our upgrades. We added HA instructions. We made the foreign data wrapper tables a little bit more robust. And I'm not showing those epics here anymore, but for 12.5, we closed out a few things. So that has an impact on what we're doing right now. And I think the first thing to highlight is something that we are starting to work on at the moment, which is building a scalable self-service geo-replication verification framework. And so I want to spend a little bit of time on this just to give you some context. In the last releases, usually there was a large epic that spoke about replicating unreplicated data types. So Geo does not currently cover all of it, and also verifying it. But we found that that was actually proceeding a little bit more slowly than we wanted. And there are a couple of reasons for it. One of the reasons is that GitLab is growing quite fast and we're adding many new data types, and Geo and the team, even though everybody works very hard, can't really keep up as much anymore. So we are actually a part of the enablement stage. And so true to our name, one of the ideas at the moment is actually to enable other parts of the company to do this with our assistance. So we are shifting focus a little bit and are trying to take a more framework-like approach. And that also means this is sort of the second part to this, that we are trying to define a little bit more clearly, what is actually exactly needed for replication and verification to make it easier to add new things on a technical level. And that's sort of a side effect, because empowering others is well and good, but that only helps if we give them the tools to do the right thing. And so we are investigating at the moment on how this could look like to make it easier in the long run to add new things and actually grow faster. The benefit for you as our customers is that if we are successful here, it really will increase the velocity over time and allows us to be faster. The thing that we're doing right now is actually documenting all the steps that are needed to replicate new data types, categorizing them. So this is going to be something that will finish in 12.6, and this is a lot of groundwork. But we're also going to work on a POC here, so a proof of concept. And that should be really time-boxed and quick, because we have a lot of assumptions at the moment, also on a technical level. And we want to avoid essentially going down a path for many months, even though we have some technical challenges. So this should be really quick, ideally like a week or two, just to validate that we can do something like that our ideas are sound. And then we'll move on and break all of that into much smaller iterations and push this forward in an incremental way. But that's a big effort in the team. And if you just look at the issue, there are some longer proposals on how to actually do this. So the team is really engaging with this at the moment and trying to figure out how to do that well. So that's one of the things that I wanted to highlight for 12.6. So this is probably going to continue for a while, and this is sort of a first step here. We started thinking about it already this release, but for 12.6, the POC is really what will come out of it. And other than that, we are switching now, and we are also sort of as a second track, And this is a tiny bit cluttered because I can't collapse sub-epics. But the second track is essentially a renewed focus on disaster recovery. So the first thing that we're doing at the moment is we are rolling out Geo to staging, the staging environment of GitLab.com, because we believe that dog fooding and using our own products is very valuable. And we want to do that by the end of the year. So release this with the 22nd. That's a sort of a prerequisite for actually rolling it out onto production, because it allows us to understand exactly how all of that works. It also, I think, gives us a great insight into the automation we can build around that. And as you can see, there's a few tasks here that are going to follow in 12.6. So for example, enabling replication of other data types. We're currently working on enabling Postgres replication, executing on test plans, and so on. But this is really a big priority for the team because, yeah, it is relevant on many different levels, and we're focusing on this as sort of a part of our disaster recovery focus. Yeah, so hopefully by 12.6, the end of this, we'll have this on staging. And then last time when I spoke to you, I spoke about sort of improvements in promotion, demotion, and failover, and that in 12.5, we would do a little bit of sort of planning and research on what we want to do. And at the moment, and you can see here, a whole bunch of things are actually starting. We are essentially saying, okay, with all the things that we need to improve in the disaster recovery space, a good starting point is actually to improve the support for a planned failover, because every customer, including us, who will roll out a disaster recovery solution, will be interested in doing really structured planned failovers. And as part of this effort, there are a few features that we are investigating right now, but there's also quite a bit of discovery work going on. So I'll zoom in here a little bit. For example, GitLab is making big steps to actually provide reference architectures for specific deployments, so for HA environments. And we're going to go through a discovery effort at the moment to understand, where are the points in our failover process that are cumbersome or error prone, right? And really focusing on understanding the current limitations. So we'll run at least 2 demos of our planned failover process in 12.6. This is a little bit similar to what we did with upgrade demos, which we do every month. We just want to make sure that we get into the habit of doing this, and also then on a separate tech build sort of the automation surrounding this. But before we automate, we want to sort of really be sure that the process is right. So that's something we're going to do. And then there are 2 interesting feature proposals that I would like to highlight. The one is a maintenance mode. This is actually bigger than Geo in general. There are at least a few use cases where this can be very helpful. So if you are a systems administrator and you need to perform some kind of operation at which you would like users not to interact with the GitLab installation, we would like to add support for essentially putting an instance into a read-only mode where no changes can be made. This is relevant for planned failovers because you can imagine that if you have a primary and a secondary and you need to always sync over changes, the primary is often a tiny bit ahead of the secondary. And if you put the system into maintenance mode, then actually you can guarantee at some point that the 2 systems are really in sync. There's no data being lost, so you have a little bit more control. So this is why this is on our plate. But there are plenty of other reasons why systems administrators are interested in the maintenance mode. So we are taking a stab at that. And also in a similar fashion to what we are doing with the replication model, we just need to validate some assumptions that we have on a technical level. So we are also going to do a small POC here, and then from there actually move forward again with an MVC for a maintenance mode. So that's one of the things. This is not likely to finish in 12.6 just because it's a big feature, but we're trying to be as iterative as possible and breaking it down. But we're giving us a little bit of runway here. The last thing is about pausing replication. And this is actually an interesting problem So imagine a situation where you have a primary and a secondary server, and the secondary server is putting quite a bit of load onto the primary. And that can be very undesirable. And especially now that we are moving towards putting these systems on .com, we are thinking about ways of handling that. And we spoke with some of our SREs in the team, and I think it may be desirable to actually improve our sort of pause and resume logic in Geo. So to be able to pause replication on a secondary so that the secondary essentially is idle, not putting any load on the primary. And that again can also be quite helpful in other situations where, for example, if you want to upgrade the primary, right, you can essentially isolate the secondary a little bit from the primary. And yeah, so we're hoping to do this. This is technically actually quite interesting because it deals a lot with Postgres and the specifics on how that database technology works. But we'll see how we get on. At the moment, we're being a little bit ambitious, and either we'll fail very fast or maybe we'll be done relatively soon. So we'll see. Yeah, and then there are two more things here to highlight that we are currently preparing for. And one thing I'm really excited about, I think many of the systems administrators that use Geo at the moment will be as well. And this is improving our user experience on the administrator panel. And I'm very happy that since this month, actually, Sinjin joined us as a product designer. And so we are going to now actually take a look at starting to take a look at the administrator panel, what the experiences and sort of baseline requirements are for systems administrators interacting with this, and then sort of having a push towards making that easier to use for you. So at the moment, we're still in early phases, but I think in December, this is going to pick up a little bit, and it's going to continue throughout the beginning of 2020. And then lastly, and this is really important, and I think this is potentially going to accelerate a little bit, but we'll see. Currently, Geo is quite hard to install. You need a lot of manual steps, and it's not the most pleasant experience, especially with very large installations. So at the moment, another team inside GitLab Distribution is already interested in helping us automate some of those steps. And this is something that may kick off very soon. So I'll keep you posted. But with all the DR work on the go at the moment, we believe that sort of by the beginning of 2020, we will ramp up that effort as well, maybe a little bit earlier. So that's definitely on the menu. And that may actually have a very positive it may have just benefits in many other areas as well, because it will mean increasing automation and making testing easier. So we do care about that. And that is Geo in 12.6. So to summarize, in terms of features, you can look forward to design repositories. We're going to look at the maintenance mode. We're going to do discovery on the planned failover procedures. We're working on pausing and resuming Postgres replication. And then there is some really exciting work kicking off here in terms of building a scalable and self-service geo-replication framework, which I believe will, if we have good signals in the beginning, will really enable us to move even faster in 2020. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed that call. You can always visit this roadmap here by labeling it Group Geo and looking at the Geo active epics. And once you click on them, you can see all the sub-epics and the associated issues. And if you have any questions, please feel free and reach out. So thanks a lot.